Hello, my name is William Gao, and this is Rupert, and you're watching the Permanent Rain Press.
Heartstopper, Tao Xu. Let's talk about the show. What drew you to this character and what challenged you with him?
I really love how Tao, I've said this a lot now, I really like how Tao kind of says what he thinks and he's very opinionated and he's not afraid to say his opinion. And I think that's really kind of cool and I wish I did that more. And he's just really unapologetically himself in a way. And that drew me to him. And the challenges for me, I'm quite different from that. I'm quite kind of I'd say I'm not very kind of opinionated on a lot of things that he is. So that was a challenge to kind of really click in with that kind of fire. I won't say anger, but I'll say fire. The fire of Tao Xu.
I think that's a good way to put it. And, during the casting process, was there ever any concern about you being cast because of your height?
Yeah, I was really scared that I'd go into the final audition, which was all of us in a room. It was in person. I thought I was going to be way too tall because in the books, obviously, he's shorter. But it seemed to not be a problem when I was there. And they followed the character as the first thing. Height wasn't as important. And so, yeah, it was fine. But I was a bit scared about the height. We had a few days where they kind of gave the director, Eros, wonderful director, he kind of came to us with a mood board about the show, the aesthetic, the color palette, and they just really went for it. And we also saw the props and the kind of little bags that we all had, the costumes. And I just loved it. I was in love with it from the second we rehearsed, when we started seeing how we were bringing this show to life. It was just amazing, and I was absolutely here for it, and I still am.
Yeah, with Tao's hair style, it kind of has taken on a life of its own. Is it something that you just embrace? Because I know your hair, you don't wear it like that in real life.
No, I don't wear the same hairstyle as Tao. It's very out there, I think, hairstyle, and there's been a lot of reaction to it online, I've heard. And yeah, I mean, I thought it aided the character really well. I think Tao's very nerdy and he's very kind of goofy. And I think the hairstyle is reminiscent of that. And I think it was, I said to Eros, actually, the director, I said, I don't know about the hair. I was in a session later on, and I was like, I don't know about the hair. And he was like, you know what? I think it's iconic, and you should think that too. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool. So it's iconic. On the first day, Alice did scene study and also like hot seating, which is an exercise where in character I go and sit down, and the other cast members, the other actors, ask me questions about my past life, about everything. And I loved the hot seating exercise because I really got to delve and explore Tao and what he liked, what his favorite music was, what his favorite films was, completely unrelated to the script. And you get to build a character off the hot seating exercise. And for me, I got to really play with, Tao's other interests, Tao's background, where his parents came from, what his story was. And I found that was really fun to explore, not only with Alice and Eros, the director, but the whole cast, which was really fun.
If you don't mind sharing, like, what are some little tidbits? Like, I know you don't want to give everything away in case we do explore it down the road, but what are some things that you kind of focused on or pinpointed during the hot seat exercise?
You know what? My memory is not so clear of that, but like I do remember that like we talked a lot about Tao's favorite films. Tao loves films, and we talked about kind of he loves the films Quentin Tarantino, the violence, the blood, and the craziness. And he really doesn't like Avengers, and he doesn't like Marvel. He really doesn't like it. And we talked about that hot seating. I think that was already in the script, but I think that was just a coincidence that in the script he says, so there's a line about his dislike for Avengers. And I think those were the two main things: music, films, and yeah, he loves Quentin Tarantino, doesn't like Marvel. Anything else? No, I can't remember. Yeah,
His
like,
family. So we did meet Tao's mother in the show.
yeah. So there was a bit about kind of heritage and linking Tao, like how his parents and how his grandparents came to the country from Hong Kong, because Tao Xu is a Hong Kongese name. and we also explored how he's an only child, he doesn't have siblings, and how this might have kind of affected the way he acts in the show. And we kind of explored family background, and we went into quite a lot of depth, actually, remembering it now. You're really jogging my memory. But yeah, we really explored it in depth. I think that's the main thing. It really helped me kind of explore him from the inside out. Yaz is just great, isn't she? She's so good, and she's just the most wonderful person, like, honestly. And it was such a pleasure to share all those scenes with her. And I think yeah, she was just really fun to work with. She was really funny. She made me laugh a lot. She made us all laugh a lot, and she was just great. So what was the other part of the question? So you asked me about Yaz, and then
did you like spend any time together, just the two of you, to kind of build that relationship to help with your scenes in the show?
yeah, I mean, we auditioned together. We had the chemistry read together, and then during rehearsals, we kind of in the scene study really got to know each other, and on set, I mean, we just kind of hung out on the weekends as well. Like when we went to go and see a play in the West End on an off day, and it was really fun. We went for a meal, and yeah, I just got to know her as her, and yeah, it was great. Just a lot of fun. And she's in Manchester. She lives in Manchester, so she's whenever she's back in town, I meet up with her. Yeah.
I feel like seeing a play together is almost something like Tao and Elle would do. Tao would like say, "You have to
Yeah,
come to this like cinema thing with me."
I really liked a lot of the scenes. I have to say, I did a scene with Kit in the last episode where kind of Nick and Tao kind of have this chat about why they're avoiding Charlie, and like how this has got to this point, and how things have got to this point in the show. I'm not going to spoil anything. And I really enjoyed that scene with Kit, because Kit's a really good mate of mine off screen as well. And it was quite a long scene, and it was quite a challenge, but I had that trust with him, like I did with all of them. But I just felt we were really in a rhythm that day, and it really went well. So this is probably my favorite scene. All the arcade was just so much fun. The arcade was so fun. All of it. You know what? All of it was just great, and so many scenes. I just had the best time filming. Yeah.
I will note that we are discussing spoilers in this interview, so that's completely fine. And
okay.
I will ask you more about that scene in particular. So we're gonna put a disclaimer on this interview. But the scene with Kit, it was really the first time that Tao gave Nick the time of day to have that discussion. And so ultimately, what do you think Tao took away from that conversation?
I think he really got a sense of Charlie, and he got a sense of how Charlie had been feeling, and how he'd gone through all of this stuff. And for Tao, it was a realization of, oh, hang on a minute, I'm not the only one feeling things here. Charlie's feeling things as well. And I really, it's this big realization for Tao. And I think that was the best thing to play in the scene. And also it's a realization for Nick's character, I think, in that scene, having watched it back. And yeah, I just think an over sense of understanding and realization. I don't know if it's a thing of I'm going to be okay. I think it definitely, there is a relationship between the scene with Nick and then the scene with Elle later on. I think he's slowly making amends, and he feels like he's in a better place, and it's all come together nicely, and it's finally resolved. And the resolution has led to him realizing the kind of change in his friendship with Elle, because Elle's been there for him the whole time. And I think maybe something to do with the resolution has kind of made him reflect and kind of change his ideas. Yeah, we're really getting into the deeper themes of the show. I'm loving it. Are you talking about the dance scene where it's all that kind of that stuff?
Yeah.
All that crazy, yeah. There's nothing that I can quite relate to the feeling of at 8 a.m. in the morning, like stone cold sober in front of like a 40-man camera crew, all with like masks and visors, no one laughing, no music. There's something really bleak about that situation, and having for 1 hour and a half to twerk and dance in front of all of those people, that was really quite a challenge. And I had practiced the dance to make it as ridiculous and silly as possible. And I did practice in the mirror the night before, I have to say, and I did show it in front of my sister and say, "What do you think? Is this really bad?" And she was like, "That's really bad." So when it came around to kind of doing it, I was like, "Yeah." But to dance to no music, and especially to twerk to no music, it's a different type of like pain. It's
Uncomfort
like
level. Yeah.
it's so uncomfortable. And it was like 8 a.m. and I hadn't fully woken up. And yeah, and then also when you do like when you shoot, when you do take one, you have to keep it consistent for the rest of the shots.
Oh yeah, continuity, right?
You need that continuity. So I started with a crazy dance and I had to maintain it for like an hour and a half. And it was just intense. It was really good. But I'm glad it came together. And I think it's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous dance, and I think that's kind of Tao's vibe and Tao and Elle's dynamic. It's silly, it's goofy, it's kind of nerdy in a way.
Yeah. Anything for the art. And I mean, you did get to show
Yeah.
it off an episode later as well. There was more twerking outside the milkshake cafe, and I wanted like that whole line and rope thing with Tao and Elle. That was so cute. That must have been a little funner to film.
That was really fun, but that was in public. So you need to realize that we were in a public park then, and there was like casually people just walking like by with their dogs and just seeing me like twerking in front of like cameras. It's just so surreal. But that little kind of the fish thing that we kind of just did, we started doing that, and it was just we kind of kept it going. And Yaz was like, "Yeah, it's really fun. Let's keep that in." And the director was like, "Yeah, that's good. Do that. It's quite fun." So that was fun, and I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you enjoyed
and I love to hear that improvisation, that line and rope thing. Episode 7 was emotionally charged. You had the fight scene, Tao and Harry, and then going into that little confrontation with Charlie. So take me through filming on that day.
That was probably my most challenging day on set. Even more challenging than twerking at 8 a.m. I think we started with the scene. We started with the scene of the apple juice when he throws the apple juice at Harry, and he's got all this anger, and I kept this kind of anger going. And then like we started doing the real fight scene, and it was really intense because it felt really real because I couldn't see cameras anywhere, and we were just fighting. And this dude had come in. He was a fight coordinator, and he was like, "You really just got to go for him. You gotta just go for it." And he had done fight coordination for James Bond. So he was like, top of his, he had James Bond t-shirt. He was, and I'm not really the used to kind of doing these really coordinated fights. So it was a real challenge. And at one point I remember I said, I have to, at lunch, I said, I have to have a moment. I had to go into my dressing room and kind of watch La La Land and eat apples and kind of calm down. Really intense and a lot of work. And by the end, my muscles, just every muscle in my body was aching. But we got it done, and it's a big moment for him in the show. It's a big dramatic moment, and I'm glad it turned out the way it did. I think it looked pretty dramatic. Cormac's so great. Cormac's yeah, I really went for it. And I said to Cormac, "Look, Cormac, with the apple juice, I'm really gonna do it. I'm really gonna throw the apple juice at you." And he was like, yeah, it's fine. But I kind of really got him in the eye. And at one point he had to like go and get his ear checked out because I got some in his ear. And like he was like, I can't hear what I'm saying. And we got really worried at one point, but he got through it. He's a top lad. And I think I said to Charlie at one point in a montage, I said, "Don't die." And I think that was quite funny. Like when we was like, "Don't die," very Tao, kind of bit sarcastic, bit kind of silly. And I think that's probably my favorite line. Or there was one word actually I said rude, but in a very like
you said it, you were trying to get the Scottish accent.
I was trying to get the Scottish accent, and I think that was quite fun to do because it took the others by surprise. Because I suddenly went like rude, and like everyone was like, "Whoa!" Like, what was that? And I think that's probably my favorite word. When we did the fight scene, it was obviously very, very physical, and it was always verbal before. You see, like it's all comebacks and kind of little like nudges here and there. But then the full-on fight is like a full-on fight. And I think it's just indicative like that build-up that Tao feels over the whole season about every time that Harry picks. And remember, Harry used to pick on Elle as well. So it's a huge build up for Tao that really climaxes at the end of episode 7. And that was really interesting to play with.
And working with the stunt coordinator, you mentioned, like, what kind of exercises did you do with them prior to filming? Like, did you and Cormac have to rehearse it a lot?
Yeah, so what we did was we went through it once. We went through each scene once and we read through it. Sorry, Rupert's getting ready. Rupert, it's crazy. Yeah, so we did we rehearsed the scene, and also Cormac had a body double. So we rehearsed it. We had like crash mats and stuff, and he just gave us little techniques to kind of be able to kind of do it safely and without actually hurting ourselves. And then he was like, and then apart from that, it's all in the, like, he did little things like if you grab wrists and then you're in control of how tense you make it. And he gave us little techniques before we shot, and then we started shooting, and he gave us little bits of stuff here and there, and it was great. Yeah, really, really good. Because I think if I hadn't had that, it would have I probably bruised myself a lot more than I actually did. When we watched the screening, we went to there was a cast and crew screening. My favorite scene to watch was probably the very last scene with Olivia Colman. I think that really hit the audience, and it really is such an amazing scene and such an amazing performance from both actors. And I think that was probably my favorite scene. Also another good scene was with Toby Donovan, when Toby comes into the what do you call it, the medical room, and he's like, sorry to interrupt, but and it's like super awkward. I found that really fun, and I couldn't stop laughing because Toby Donovan is just hilarious.
Yeah, the antiseptic wipes, like the delivery of that.
Yeah, the delivery of that's so funny, like antiseptic wipes, and it's like this kind of really awkward situation. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, and in season 2, if viewers know if readers of the book know what I mean, the Louvre, what happens outside the Louvre with Tao and Elle, I'd love to see that on screen. That'd be amazing. Yeah, we'll see.
Will Tao learn how to properly run? That is the question.
That is the question. I think no, he won't. But we can try and teach him. Yeah, he really can't run. No. Yeah.
Was it hard? Is it hard to like act like you don't know what you're doing when you're running?
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of made it as ridiculous as I could. I kind of tried. Yeah, just kind of went for it. And I remember, yeah, just making the run as silly as I could, and I kind of flicked my legs out every time I ran, and my aim was to try and make the crew laugh. And if the crew laughs, it means you're doing well, because that means they're finding it funny. And it was really, really good to hear a bit of a laugh after the run.
Kit has brought you up in multiple interviews that you were not in, and just basically saying how cool and how funny you are. So tell me a bit about like that relationship, and just with the rest of the cast, like how much you've been kind of rooting for each other over the past year and a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Kit Connor and Kit Connor and me is like a bromance. Kit Connor, Will Gao, we got big bromance game. He's a really good friend of mine, and he's so great. He's really good, off screen and on screen, very supportive. And as everyone are, we think we're so tight knit, and like we had lots of time on off days, like on the weekends and stuff, where we used to hang out as a cast, and we were all there for each other, and we are here for each other even now. Like it's such a crazy response to the show, you know, and it's a lot to take on, and we're all very wary of like each other, and like we're very supportive. But yeah, Kit Connor, big bromance game. Yeah, I think just the love of the show, like people are so positive and they're so in love with us as a cast, and so happy that we had so much fun making it. And I think that's the best thing about the response that we've received online. And there's so many talented artists out there that are really reacting to the show in the most wholesome way, and I'm absolutely here for it. And I can't wait to see more of this fan art that's been going on. And yeah, 1.1 is a million people. That's a lot of people, isn't it? Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat. It's been such a pleasure.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on. Bye. Where's Rupert? Oh, I can't find Rupert. Oh no, Rupert's sleep. He's sleeping right underneath the computer, so we'll leave him to sleep. Yeah.